Hello, my friends. Okay, so in my last video, I did say that I was going to talk about more I was going to kind of try and do a mix of like my normal content, which is talking about, well, actually, it's both my normal content. So basically, just a mix of talking about the things I like, movies, shows, uh, anime occasionally, all that stuff. And then talking about life experiences and life, mental health, all that other stuff. But today, my friends, we got to talk about a very important movie that I had the privilege of seeing in theaters recently when I visited my mom in California, um, called The Backrooms. Now, it may come as a shock to you guys. I'm the biggest Backrooms geek. I can't even say nerd because nerd would imply I know every little detail. I'm just the biggest Backrooms. I love everything Backrooms, all of it. Like, I love liminal spaces. I love liminal space and Backrooms is kind of the more horror aesthetic. Things like Dreamcore, Weirdcore, that's more of just the aesthetic, not so much the horror. That's more, I see the Dreamcore and Weirdcore as more of like a reassuring, ethereal type thing. But the Backrooms, on the other hand, which they kind of share the same family species of thing, of like genre and aesthetic. The Backrooms, the movie, oh boy, we're getting into it. So without further ado, spoilers ahead. If you haven't seen the movie and you still want to watch it or you don't want spoilers, I'm warning you now, but we got to talk about this. Okay, so the Backrooms. One thing I absolutely loved about this movie, and I think this is just simple to mention, they got the Backrooms right. They looked completely the way they were supposed to. Like, from what I remember, Kane Pixel, I think he directed it. I could be wrong. Let's look it up right now, because I just want to be sure. But I'm, pretty sure he did direct it. I want to, because he's the one that created it in the first place, so he either directed it or had, a big involvement in it, kind of like Oda with the One Piece live action. Let's see, who directed Backrooms? Yeah, well, his real name is Kane Parsons, but I just know him as Kane Pixels because I've been following him for a long time online. The Backrooms movie, man, it was so good. Everything looked how it was supposed to. To be honest, I was a little bit, not sure how, because, in the games, the entity that I remember is, the wiry, long black monster thing that looks like it's made of coat hangers. And when I would play Backrooms with my friend, um that's usually the one we'd play. We'd play all the Gmod maps, and usually that was the creature. So I didn't really know what to expect as far as the monster in the movie. I was more focused on the aesthetic and the Backrooms as a concept than the monster. But I was really hoping, for a minute there, I was like, wait, is there going to be no monster? There's got to be a monster. Come on, guys. Otherwise just call this movie Dreamcore and just put a bunch of houses and infinite suburbia, okay? But no, this was a great movie. I loved it. I felt the vibe. I went to the theater. I don't know what it is, post-COVID, people just don't want to go to the theater anymore, so I'm just by myself. I'm just whoa, in California, SoCal, this is rare. You can't pay people to not show up at a theater in SoCal the way it was when I was there, but it's just no one was there. It was so empty, which added to the realism and to the aesthetic and to the feel of the film, because no one was there except maybe one person far above me. So I'm sitting there and I'm whoa, this actually feels like I'm actually experiencing the Backrooms. It was so cool. I'm horrible at names, and I watch read so many manga, watch so many movies and shows. I tend to forget a lot of the characters' names. I feel bad. I forget the main guy's name, but the furniture store owner, Captain Clark, I think is, I don't know, Clark something. I'm not going to give a whole and this is what happens, because I want you to go watch it, but I'll talk about it, right? So in the movie, it's this, the main, one of the main characters is this guy that owns a furniture store. He's out on his luck, things aren't going well for him in life. His wife kicked him out. He's seeing this therapist, and she's the other main character, and she plays a bigger role even towards the end of the film. But this guy discovers the Backrooms portal in the furniture store, and the way they do it is so good. Like, it's not like a Rick and Morty portal from the fucking Portal video games, which are great video games, but it's not like that. No, this is like straight up. Like, you can't even see it. He just like stumbles on it. Like, he's like feeling it, and then he goes through the wall. He literally is like no clipping. Like, that's exactly, they got it right. And come on, guys. Kane Pixel was in charge of this movie. Of course, they were going to get it right. I don't even have to say that. But I'm just so stoked at how well they did it. Like, I just loved that film. The monster, the main of like creature, when they eventually like show the entity, I think as they're called, is actually like a very tall and distorted version of Captain Clark. Or his name's not Captain Clark. I think that's just what he calls himself in his commercial. But Clark, or what, the main guy, the main monster is like a distorted, taller, like lankier version of him. And oh my god, this movie, like, it just goes in, and the scene, they build it up too. Like, you don't see the monster at first. And, you know, in the beginning, I was like, oh, they never gonna show him. Are they just gonna do this, like, cliche horror movie thing when that they do in some horror movies where it's, oh, camera angle is never gonna show what's actually going on? No, they did not do that. They built it up. There was suspense. There was suspense, my friends. They built that shit up. That shit was building up. And it went exactly the way it was supposed to. And I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved how they built the suspense in that film. So how it, you know, when he goes in there the first time with other people, because he explores the place by himself. When he went in there, to be honest, I'm watching this, I'm like, oh, he's dead. Like at the beginning of the movie, I'm just like, oh, he's going to get lost in here. He's going to be in here the whole movie. And then he leaves the place, and I'm like, what? No one leaves? What? I'm like, the whole thing about the Backrooms is you can't leave. So, like, when he leaves and goes back and forth, I'm like, okay, I kind of like that concept. You know, it gives it a little bit more grounded and, like, suspenseful. You know, if he's just stuck in there, it would just be horror. But, like, now it's suspense. When it comes to horror films, I don't like horror, like, gruesome, horror, scary. I like the suspense, the thriller, the long drawn out. Those are my type of scary movies. I'm not a huge fan of, like, you know, scary movies that just have like scary this, scary that. I like the feel, the vibe. That's how I like my scary movies. And I almost said Obsession, because that's the other movie. I haven't seen that one yet. I know. What kind of nerd am I? I haven't seen Obsession yet. It's literally one of the greatest movies of the year, but I haven't seen it yet. I am gonna see it though. We'll get into that later. But the Backrooms, okay. So he goes in there with these two kids that work for him. I think they're kind of on the fence because it's like, you know, they're getting to a point where they're like, this guy's losing money. His store's going to probably shut down. But, and to be fair, even though this is a good movie, they did have the horror cliche of like two teenagers going into a place they really shouldn't. Like, this is the problem with horror movies. I'm tired of how stupid people are in horror movies. The young people specifically. Like, so, first of all, and this is going to sound a little uncouth, but when the main guy goes to get the college students, I think they're college students, I don't remember, I think they are, like, they're college age, and he goes to get them to show them about the Backrooms and that part of his store and how it connects. Like, low-key, I know it wouldn't have made the movie good, but if I went through something, I would have just, like, peeked my head in and then seen that and been like, all right, no, I'm not doing that. You go have fun with that. I think they did try to go back, and then they couldn't. But by then, they're already in there. Like, if it was me, I would have just immediately been like, nope, and just left. Like, I would have been like, no. I'm not stupid. I'm not going into some random place. But they kind of did that. And in my head, the uncouth part I was going to say is, like, I mean, I don't think they actually show any of this, but when he goes to their hotel or motel or apartment or wherever it was to go get them, they're with each other. I think intimately. I don't actually know. They never really get into that. But in my head, I was just like, bro, y'all are young. Just have fun with each other, man. Fuck the back rooms, bro. Like, why are you throwing your life away? Y'all could be like, I don't know, being a couple right now, having fun. Like, but no, you're gonna follow this dumbass into a fucking place you're never gonna leave. Like, so, I don't know. This is kind of my funny thought, but the movie's great. I loved it. The aesthetic was very real. And, you know, I've been a fan of the Backrooms and that liminal space kind of concept world for a while. So I was very like, okay, there's not many movies where I'm like, I hope they get this right. Like, I'm pretty open-minded. I mean, you have to be when you're a fan of the MCU because it's like a great movie and then just 5 shit movies. But I'm pretty open-minded. I can appreciate things for what they are. You know, unless it's Star Wars Episode 8, then I can't. But for most things, I could be like, okay, yeah, objectively, it wasn't great. But, all right, you know, I can appreciate it, you know, for all the things they did get right. But the Backrooms, the vibe was so good, you know. It was so good. They had so many, like, moments where I was like, this is the Backrooms. And the main guy, I think the most horrifying scene isn't even um, the main therapist lady getting chased by the monster after the main dude gets killed. But it's that scene, you'll see it in the movie, and I gave you a spoiler warning in the beginning of this video. But in the movie, there's a scene where they're like, it's super disturbing, but weirdly enough, I'm not so much disturbed as I am feeling bad for the main dude, right? He's sitting there. Obviously, they kind of leave this part out, but the monster psychologically did something to him because it didn't kill him right away. Like the 2 kids that get killed, they die, but the main dude, Clark or whatever, he doesn't right away, which was kind of strange to me. So he's in this like dining room, and it's like super like empty and very back rooms-ish and creepy, and the therapist is just like confused, and she wakes up. I think she got like knocked out or something, and he's sitting there and he's like forcing her to pretend to be his ex-wife because he's completely lost it. Like, he's crazy. But the really creepy part is there's these like amalgamated flesh beings that have like multiple faces on their faces, like sitting in different corners of the room. They're not very threatening, but they are uncomfortable to be around. And then he walks over to one of them, cuts them open, and pulls out what look I can only assume looks like styrofoam. And he's like, "Oh, you can eat this." I'm like, "How would you even know that, bro? You've been in here for what, 15 minutes, and you just like." This. I'm in a vacation home here, man. Why would I want to leave? But one of the most jarring things he says is, I basically like, I don't want to leave. I like it in here. And I was like, oh my god. And then the monster comes into the room, and I'm starting to think like, oh, maybe him and the monster are like cool or whatever. Entity, I should say entity. But he goes up to it because the therapist basically like freaks out. She's like, I'm not your wife. Stop comparing me to her. Like, you're this is why she left you, and she just like loses it on him. And eventually she just tells him like, you know what, you can just be yourself, you don't have to change. So the guy walks up to the monster that's just the bigger, taller, scarier, more distorted version of him. At least that's the vibe I got. And he talks to it, and the thing's just looking down on him, and he's just like, it's okay, we don't have to change. And then the monster bites his neck off, like takes a chunk out of his neck or shoulder and kills him. And then the lady starts running away, and I'm glad they didn't make this scene short. They really dragged this out. There's like a good, I mean, maybe I'm overselling or overshooting how long it was, but it felt like a good 15-20 minutes of this woman just trying to run away, almost getting caught, getting away, then almost getting caught, then getting away. And at the very end, this is when it gets really good. I mean, the whole movie's good, but this is where it gets like, they bring in the concept. I forget what, this is more the Backrooms lore than the games, but in the lore, there is a government organization, I forget what they're called, but they have essentially studied and cataloged the Backrooms, and she gets brought in by them, I think, after they kill the entity, and it's alluded to that that is not the only entity that lives in there. That was just the only one that she came across. Yeah. Because it was kind of like an SCP Foundation type deal, like where, like they had him in a back room and he was dead, I think, and you know, like back room, haha, funny, and he was dead, and you know, and I'm watching this and I'm like, oh my god, and then the doctor that works for this foundation or group starts talking to her, and she's like trying to get answers, and you can tell this guy's like, we have no idea what we're doing here. We are literally going by the skin of our teeth. Like, this place is, like, impossible to measure. Like, he gives off the vibe of, like, we have zero clue what we're even going to do about this. And then it kind of just like has that suspenseful ending in scary movies that I like when they do this. The ending is kind of ambiguous. It's, you know, at least it was for me. I'm sure I could like watch a video essay on people's opinions, but I kind of like it that way. I like to leave it like I wonder what it meant. There's not many things I like to watch like that. Like when I see an anime I really love and it has an ending like that, I'm like, just give me an ending. But in this film, since it's the Backrooms, I was like, yes, perfect. This is exactly how it was supposed to be. And that's how they did it. That's how it was. So this movie, definitely very good. And I just want to talk about it because, oh my God. I mean, it had been a while since I've been to a movie theater, but this was like, mwah. This was how I hoped it would be. Sure, there were like some things I was like, okay, that's dumb. But the majority of this movie I loved. Definitely a scary movie that I think that needed to be made. Because, you know, it's hard when they try and do stuff like this, like video games or internet concepts. Like when they do a scary movie, like they did it for Slender Man, it flopped. They did it for, well, Five Nights at Freddy's was okay, but they did it for Slender Man, that flopped. They did it for other things, that flopped. But this one, like, actually, you know, not half bad. No, it was really good. And I feel like they did a really good job with it. So I'm happy that I feel like it made the world very real. You know, that's what I like about films. You know, a lot of people are very elitist about their internet culture, and it's like, no, you can't make this a movie or anything that it's not meant to be. And it's like, but sometimes that could give it a new perspective. That's how people were about the live action One Piece. They were very much like, at first, you know, now people seem to love it, but at first I remember a lot of people on the internet were very like, well, you know, you can't do that. And I'm just like, why? I mean, as long as it's good, I don't care. Like, you know, I mean, they did do a little things out of order. And to be fair, I'm not all the way caught up with One Piece. I'm like 3/4 of the way through. But I've watched a bulk of it, and I love it a lot. I just need to take a little bit of a break because I was like straight up like over 650 episodes. I was like, okay, take 5. I know it's a weak mindset. I will get back to it. It's just on hold for now. But yeah, that was kind of the same thing with like the One Piece live action show. A lot of people were very like, skeptical, I get, but they were very much like, no, you can't do this. It's like, guys, just like chill out, all right? Like, let's let them do their thing, all right? And I understand the fear. A lot of shit has happened when they've done live action adaptations of anime. I get it, but this one was good. So anyway, that's kind of off topic, but The Backrooms, great film. Check this shit out if you have not seen it. Definitely go watch it. Yeah, I really liked it. And just the whole feel. I kind of had the feeling at the beginning that this guy was going to go insane and lose his mind. It was very clear at the beginning of this movie that he wasn't well. I mean, he was in therapy, but, like, he was very emotionally volatile, very, like, avoidant, very, like, not wanting to take responsibility for the things he did wrong. He would blame they never even show his ex-wife, and yet you feel this connection to what their relationship must have been like for the both of them. And you never even see her or see their no flashbacks, none of that. So, like, this dude, you know, there's a part where he's like insulting, calling his wife like fat and lazy because he's having to work and she's pursuing other angles or something, which is, I think, is like fucking wild to call your wife something like that. I mean, yeah, that shows some insecurity there, but it showed the dynamic very well and without even ever really meeting her character. So anyway, that's a great film. I just want to talk about it, and I hope you guys check it out, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Talk to you later. Bye.